Pop, 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 pop. Pull, 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 pull. Try the body a bit more. This morning we've got Zelfa Barrett in the gym going through one of his strength and conditioning sessions. Now at the minute we haven't got a date for Zelfa, so we're very much in like an out of camp phase. So really the goal today is just to really try and improve some maximal strength for Zelfa, just generally across his whole body. So we're going to start the session up with a very generic warm-up. All the athletes that I get into the gym, we get going through a world's greatest stretch and a dead bug. The idea really is just to open them up through the T-spine, open them up through the hips a little bit, and really just start to get them settling into the session. After that, we've got a couple of other warm-up exercises that are going to do very, very similar things. Open up through the hips, open up through the T-spine, just increase local muscle temperature a little bit so that they're ready to go into the more intensive part of the session. Just like always, step underneath the bar. You don't necessarily need your hands to go on the top of this bar here, yeah? So step on, get your foot directly underneath your body. Hands can come to the side. Just as a warm-up, give me a 50% calf raise on one side. So gradually build up to 50%. Swap to your left, lift your right leg, again calf raise, just 50%. We'll go 3 seconds through, and then we'll go to 80%, the same thing, okay? Just a couple of easy warm-up sets. First part of Zelfa's session, we always start off with an isometric calf raise. Zelfa's got a little history of issues with his foot and ankle and has had a couple of surgeries on one of his Achilles tendons. So one thing that we really try and limit in the gym for Zelfa is the amount of plyometric work that we're actually doing with him. He does a lot of skipping in the gym, he does a lot of bar bag work in his boxing gym, so I don't really want to add any fuel to that fire in spiking a lot of plyometric load. But we want to try and look to load the tendon a little bit to really make sure that it stays strong enough to be able to support a lot of the plyometric work he does in the gym. So using the isometric calf raise allows him to produce a lot of force through that foot and ankle, which is really going to load up that tendon. And also for me, it gives me a measure each week as to how tired Zelfa's feeling. So if a score is really down one week, then that might be a week that we pull back slightly in the gym. With the isometric calf raise, we're going to go single leg. So that's going to give me an insight into what's going on left versus right hand side for Zelfa. With one side having some historic surgical issues, it just allows me to make sure that the strength of one side isn't dropping off and the other side isn't compensating for it. If we get a drop off in one side, not the other, it allows me to understand that it's probably not related to fatigue and more related to something going on at that foot and ankle itself that we can then dive into a little bit. Left leg especially is looking really, really good. Yeah, really good. Actually, the left leg was a PB today. Yeah. Right leg, not quite. The left leg was a PB today. That's good, really good. Then we're going to move into a med ball wall throw. So looking at a little bit of rotational power work for the day. First one, just give me a nice, easy, like 30% throw. Now give me a 50%, let's gradually build up. 70%, 90%, and last one, max, whip it. Okay, turn around, swap sides. I really like the wall throw because there's no deceleration aspect to it. You know, Zelfa will really be accelerating that med ball around, and that's going to really help just produce some power rotationally. We're only going to do a couple of sets of that because it's a primer for the start of the session, and the focus at the minute isn't a massive amount of power-based work. We'll come into that when we start to get a date, but for now it's much more maximal strength. So we're just going to do a couple of sets for his med ball throw, get his nervous system firing a little bit, hopefully help maintain any of the current power qualities he has while we focus our attention elsewhere. After that, we're going to go into a hex bar deadlift. Really simple compound movement. I really like the hex bar just because it's really easy to load up. It's really easy for athletes to perform if they haven't got a historic background of strength training, which Zelfa previously hasn't got. It's also an exercise that I've been doing with Zelfa for a long time, so he's very competent in it, and I'm confident as well in the weights that he can shift using that hex bar. Let's go, come on, smooth ball. Up, 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 up. Good. Nice, Zelfa. Come on, up, up. I want one more. Up, 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 up. Good. And then after that, we're going to go into a weighted pull-up. So the lats and the kind of upper back muscles are really important for boxing, as they're going to help decelerate that shoulder a lot on any missed shots. But equally when a boxer's landing a shot on their opponent or on a bag, a lot of the muscles to the back of the shoulder and around the shoulder are going to have to contract to stabilize that shoulder joint. So it's really important that we make sure that, especially for boxers, they have strong lats, they have strong rear delts, they have strong rhomboids to be able to deal with the amount of punching volume they're throwing and just the amount of wear and tear that shoulder has to go through on a daily basis. We might even try and push the weight on this a little bit today because last time Zelfa cruised through 15 kilos quite comfortably. So we'll see if we can push that on a little bit this week. Then finally, at the end of the session, we're going to come on to some robustness circuit work. Robustness circuits are something that I like to put into the fighters' programs when they're out of camp. The whole purpose of these robustness circuits really is just to work on areas of the body that they're more likely to pick up injuries through, just through the nature of doing their sport. So we've got a split kneeling cable twist, again with boxers doing the amount of rotational work they do in their sport when they're throwing their punches. The lower back gets loaded up quite a lot, the abs get loaded up a lot, the obliques get loaded up a lot. So I really want to make sure that we're just nice and strong through all those different trunk muscles. So in Zelfa's second session of the week, we'll take a different approach to his core work and target some other areas. But today we're really going to look at his obliques and just look at building some strength and some capacity rotationally. We're then going to move into a single leg calf raise. Again, with Zelfa having some calf issues historically, we just want to make sure that foot and ankle joint is always staying strong. So we're always making sure that his calf muscles, his gastroc, his soleus are able to produce a good amount of force. That way that they can really help when it comes to things like his bar bag sessions, his skipping, and a lot of the running that Zelfa's going to do when he comes into camp as well. That's purely around just trying to keep that foot and ankle joint healthy. And then finally, we're going to come on to some wrist rolls, which are all about his forearms and his grip strength. One phrase that I really like to use is strong wrists protect your fists. The idea is if we can really strengthen up through the forearm, again, when Zelfa's boxing, when he's punching, every time he's landing on an opponent in sparring, on pads, on a bag, those forearm muscles need to contract isometrically to help stabilize the wrist. So one thing that we'll do when we're away from camp is really look to try and strengthen up a lot of the muscles around the wrist. So today we're going to use a wrist roller. You'll see when Zelfa's actually going through it. Really good at kind of isolating the forearms and really isolating that wrist to help improve strength in the wrist. With the wrist roller, I've got a specialist wrist roller tool that you can actually attach to a cable machine. But if you don't have a wrist roller, a couple of easy alternatives is to just set a bar up on a squat rack, stick a band off the end with a kettlebell on the bottom, and then it works the same way. You're just going to roll the end of the bar up and try and lift the kettlebell off the ground. Other good alternatives are things like wrist curls, kettlebell turnovers. But if you can set up a wrist roller or have access to a wrist roller bit of kit, in my opinion, it's a really, really useful tool in improving wrist strength. As always, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe for future videos. And if you've got any suggestions of anything you'd like to see from any of the fighters I work with, please make sure you drop them below in the comments.